Hello, hello. Big trick energy time. Hello, hello. Welcome to Leap Taken. I'm Mika here at Leap Taken. I talk all things witchy, craft related, law of attraction, manifesting, esoteric, and everything else in between. And welcome today. This is going to be an interesting topic. We're going to be talking about what makes a spell actually work. Um, so this isn't just about me teaching or you or me telling you. It's I'm inviting this to be an open conversation, so I'll share what I think and what I know from my experience, but I want to hear from you too. So jump in the chat, let me know. I'm going to ask some questions, share, because I think this is going to be super helpful to a lot of different people depending on where you are in your path. um, but what do you believe makes a spell really click? What do you think it is? So let's talk about, like, we're going to break down a spell. I'm going to jump right in. So I want to talk to some sort of classical elements of a spell. I have my notes here, my loose notes. So, like, intention. I feel like intention has been for me the seed, the intention. And I think that's the case. You'll agree. I think most people will agree with me on that. The intention is the seed of the spell. It's kind of how it all starts. And how does the intention start? Which I'm going to go off script for a second here. Um, to me, hey Insky, the intention starts with, like, asking yourself a what if question. Well, what if? Well, what if I did get that? Well, what if that was me? Well, what if I did live in a house like that? Well, what if I did? You know, what if I wasn't always anxious all the time, or I don't know. What if I felt safer? Asking questions like that, what would that be like? Because sometimes people get it twisted about money, and hey, we live in a capitalistic world or society, so of course you're going to have capitalistic ways and thoughts in which, and it's going to get into your path because you got to survive this. But when we're not in that space and you're just thinking about, like, the other ways people use witchcraft in a host of different ways. I've seen somebody talk about how they were losing weight. I use it to help with my wellness plan and to get healthy. Witchcraft is a part of it. Do you see what I'm saying? So just asking yourself that what if question, that sets the intention for a lot of us. What if it was you? What if I got to do that? What if I lived like this? What if I thought like this? What if I had that? All right, so that's the seed. And then there's the energy raising, and that's the fuel. One of my sticklers sometimes is that, I mean, I write books with spells and rituals, and I'm not immediately giving a way to raise energy, but I do want to point out to you, you should be trying to raise energy. Now, how you go about that is going to be up to you. And honestly, I think it depends on the type of spell that you're doing. So if I'm working on revenge work, let's just be honest, if I'm working on, somebody did something to me and I wanted to go back to them. I ain't trying to reinvent the wheel. I just want everything you sent to me to come back at you full force. I'm not even trying to triple it. I just want you to feel what you're doing to me, right? Um, and I'm doing that type of work. The way I'm going to raise energy, it might not be calm. I might need to raise energy in a different kind of way. You might be listening to maybe some type of music, or maybe whatever, a certain chant. There's more aggression in your voice. You see what I'm saying? Like, that energy raising is going to look different per spell, or at least maybe it should. At least that's how it works for me. The other element would be correspondences. I talk a lot about that. uh, for sure, definitely in my books and things like that. But, like, the color, herb, stone, or the timing, those are other elements in spell work. Action, the action. So, what do you do with the energy once raised? How are you directing it? That's part of the spell. Now, these are elements I'm talking about, spell elements. And then there's the belief and confidence, the glue that sort of holds it together. I like to use fancy words like, are you in alignment with the work that you put out there? But that's basically what I mean. Do you have the confidence and belief in the work that you're doing? One way to do that would be to speak affirmations, um, to sort of, and this is kind of my spells on spells approach, to speak affirmations over the work. This aligns. with that energy that you put out into the universe. So here's a question. A spell is basically, well, not necessarily a question, but a spell is basically a recipe, right? Basically, low key. But if one ingredient is missing, it may not taste the same, right? So, with that being said, the question is, what's the one thing you absolutely must have in your spell work? I hope I worded that right. I wrote it down. It made sense when I wrote it down, but I said it. Maybe it makes better sense when I've just asked the question. What's the one thing you absolutely must have in your spell work? So I'll answer for me. Um, some sort of fire element, most definitely. I align to the energy, the fire element, in multiple ways, um, but definitely fire, and if not fire, a water element, some or and or both. But yeah, fire is my top choice. Water is the other thing. And if I look at my birth chart, natal chart, and I look at all the energy, it's definitely half fire, half water. So that makes sense for me. The Empress Scott says, greetings. Greetings, sis. Sis in craft. I've been waiting to say that to somebody. My sister in craft. Um, so why spells sometimes fail? We're going to talk about that. So I've kind of been leading up to this self-sabotage. Self-sabotage doesn't have to be dramatic as you think. When I say that, some people get weirdly offended. What do you mean? I don't self-sabotage. Doubting the outcome is self-sabotage. This is work. You went and you bought candles, you bought these herbs, you bought these powders, you bought oils, or you made all this stuff. You took the time, the energy to put all this stuff together. You wrote the words, or you took the words out of a book and you made it your own. You said the words, you waited for the certain timing. You did all the things. You invested your time, energy, your space, your mind, and your spirit to the work. Just so when you talk to somebody and you starting to see things maybe possibly come through, you're not sure, and somebody, you talking about the problem and you talking about it as if the problem's going to continue. You don't see no harm in that. The people around you say words like, won't he do it? And you're like, well, actually it was me. But you don't say that. You let it rock because you think that's harmless. You sit and kind of obsess about it. The work, like, I really hope it works. Oh, I hope it works. I wonder how long it's going to take to work. Oh, I'm not supposed to keep thinking about it, but I hope it works. Doing dumb stuff stuff like that. And why I say dumb stuff, because if you had the presence of mind and the energy to put all that stuff together, and that's how you want to do, especially, and I'm going to say this, and I'm speaking to myself from the past, especially if you have evidence that spells have worked. You have had occurrences and experiences. So at this point, that's just self-sabotage. That's not you wondering. That's you self-sabotaging. That's what it looks like, doubting the outcome. Energy leaks is the other one, why spells sometimes fail. Energy leaks. So when you're exhausted and you're casting spells, if you're stressed, if you're distracted, or family members will put seeds of doubt. Ooh, I didn't get to that. I was high level when I talked about with the won't he do it stuff, and because I joked about that before because I had that experience. But yeah, there are people who will put those seeds in your mind, and it's up to you whether those seeds germinate ultimately. And it can be hard sometimes because if they're family, that means they got an in. You talk to them, you're around them, It gets hard, y'all. It gets hard. And right now, I'll just say this because I made a promise earlier in the year. I'm only going to talk so much about politics on here, not because I'm afraid, not because I ain't scared, but because this space is not for that. But I want to point out to you, everything this series of what I'm talking about has everything to do in the face of everything else that's happening in the world. So when I'm talking spells on spells on spells, and I'm talking about self-sabotage, because honestly, I'm one of those people, call me a conspiracy theorist, call me whatever you. I think there is something, I'm trying to find the right word. We'll say spiritual. I was going to say supernatural. spiritual happening. To explain the lack of empathy and just the evilness is beyond hate. We've gone to evil. Even if people are doing it for money, even if they're doing it for clout, even if whatever the reason, the motivation is, they're willing to do it. They're willing to be evil. And the thing that I think really sets in for me is they're not just like you're thinking people are dancing for the money. They're saying the mean things for the money. They're saying the evil shit for the money. Excuse me. The willingness to do it even for money is still evil. And the part that I think a lot of us have woken up to as of 2025 is they would do it even if it wasn't as much money, that they believe it. And okay, they found other people who believe it and who really in their hearts believe evil thoughts. There's a lot more people who are capable of just evil against people who are myself, you know. I never know when I'm running up against demons. I was going to say evil, but demons, which is another thing. It's amazing to me, specifically within a Black community. There is this constant, at least now, and it's mostly the new adults. And I say new adults because I'm not a young lady. You know, I'm a woman of a certain age. I'm a half a century years old. I'm going to say this. I find that the new adults keep using this demon crap. Like they throw around everything's demonic. Beyonce's demonic. Only celebrities are demonic, by the way. Not your uncle that molested everybody. Not the white cops. Not everybody else. They not demonic. Just the Black people with money are demonic. Anyway, why is it not like? And then why don't y'all go this hard against the real demons walking around? The people would look, I can see the evil in their eyes. Like you see it. Have you looked these people, these various podcasters, these various politicians, and like real next time, just look at them when they talking. Not just the picture when they talk. Look at them eyes and look at the eyes. And I don't mean demons from the Bible. I mean that's the word that we use for just raw evil. And I just wonder, like, it's a different version of a humanoid. Like, were they mixed with aliens? I don't know what the frick is going on. At this point, y'all got me out here just as bad as the other conspiracy theories because my empathetic brain and spirit and emotions, I can't perceive that level of evil against another person. I might, and I don't think I'm supposed to. I don't think I'm the innocent uh naive person. I think we're supposed to not be able to conceptualize evil on the scale that we're witnessing it. So when I talk about these spells, when I'm doing this channel, when I'm talking about spellwork, when I'm talking about all this stuff, I'm giving you some very good information for free because you're going to need this and we need it now because the answer to this is more spiritual than anything. I'm not talking about no deity. I'm not talking about nobody's Bible because please don't come to me with that BS. Is none of that. There's no text. This is something, this is an inside thing. This is where you got to go for us who have empathy because empathy is a negative thing now. And I don't know if anybody noticed that. Like we literally got people saying empathy is wrong. It's a made up thing. Okay, psychos. So we as if you are a witch and if you're not a Black witch or a person of color and you're watching this is really part of the R word resistance. This is really part of this. This is something bigger happening. I'm not going to sit here and be like other people I see with a platform unless I really get a download, unless I really get a message telling me and I truly resonated with it, that there is some sort of blood oath that was made in the ancient time, or there was some deity that made some sort of pact with some of these groups of people, ancestors back in the time, and that can only explain what we get to live in today. Because I want to point out Europeans are a very small part, like as people. on this entire globe. And it's just crazy when you think about all of this and the fact that whether it's in this country and we're seeing in other countries, they're saying they want things back the way, back from who? You colonized around the globe. They only at your doorstep because you went and found them. You brought them there. Anyway, they say empathy is new age and is wrong. Child, I, there are people, the more I talk, I have been saying this for years, and I have made people cringe over the years. There are people who look at me as I navigate the world, as I talk, no matter how much code switching, no matter if I have my hair straight, if it's curly, nappy locks, if I bleach my skin, no matter what I did, if I change my inflections, if I got real skinny, if I got real fat, if I got this, if I did this, I did that, I'm a talking monkey to them. I'm just a talking freaking monkey to them. I don't think I'm starting to see, I grew up knowing this. I grew up knowing this my whole life. I navigated the world. It didn't make me hate people, but it made me categorize people based off of, a certain amount of conversation, and I can tell, oh, okay, I'm just a talking monkey to you. Get out my face. Um so when you're hearing this conversation about lack of empathy and all those are just, they're just saying different words. Lack of empathy means you don't see me as human. You don't see me as human. I can talk, but you don't think I'm a human person. um if we stand a chance, get knowledgeable in your path. It's not about fighting people with spells. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking protection. I'm talking about enriching your household. I'm talking about health, because those things are going to be very important. They are important, but use your magic accordingly. I'm not necessarily telling you to focus so much outward. I'm telling you to go inward right now with your magic, because we need to build ourselves up, because there's to borrow from the Christians, a spiritual warfare. But I don't think this is as simple as those words imply. I do think there's something that is beyond what we understand and know. And I don't think there's like the when I say this, I'm not sitting around thinking that these evil people saying evil things are in the know of some magic or some, other, like a old tomb or script that they're pulling energy from. I don't think, I know they're ignorant. We know they don't know anything. They would have told us they can't contain themselves. So no, that's not the case. The ancestors, those that came before, and more importantly, which actually brings me hope, is the grip, the agreement is dwindling. And years of being, and ancestrally speaking, of these groups of people, they're struggling. Now, here's the thing about it, and I'm talking obviously Europeans. This is not all Europeans, because what's also happening within the group itself, especially in this country, we're seeing is the loud and wrong ones, because they're so loud, they only hear their voices, hence the echo chamber. They think everybody, including people who look like them, everybody, they assume mostly are on board with the foolishness, the evilness. And we're seeing, in fact, they're not, because they've come into knowledge and understanding, the woke word, where it's like, hey, maybe this is evil. Or life experiences, being out in the world, meeting different types of people, going to work with different people, Yeah, I don't think that's true, y'all. I don't think all this stuff because we know your parents, your grandparents, your uncles, your aunts, they would make comments in front of you growing up. I know, we all know. Come on, we know. And you start living a little bit and realize maybe that's not the case about everybody. And here's the thing, even if because I've had conversations with people of European descent who specifically says, I mean, wouldn't they have the right to feel some kind of way though? They being literally anybody else on the globe that's not European. Wouldn't they maybe have a right? Because you got some people who think like that too. I'm just saying. I feel like the reign is coming to an end and they are trying to do everything, including go to the playbook of what was done back in the Nazi regime in Germany. They are literally, we don't have to ask what's going to be next. We know they're not original. They can't come up with ideas. They're always stealing from somebody else, even when it comes down to this. So get your magic house in order. This is a cute little series, but this is real impact. Okay, let's get back to these energy leaks. So, casting spells when exhausted, not a great idea. This is why it can fail. Long and short of it is the energy that you're bringing to it. Be careful what you come to the altar with. Misaligned correspondences or timing. This is a controversial one because there are a lot of witches honestly on some level I used to think like this because I wasn't in the know. I didn't get enough knowledge. There is something to be said for getting your ducks in a row, magically speaking. There is something to be said of harnessing the power of an eclipse, of certain astrological timings, working within a retrograde for certain types of work, not purposely working in a retrograde for certain types of work. It depends on the retrograde, by the way. Mercury, which planet, you know what I'm saying? Working at a certain part of the day versus the night, depending on the type of work, working on a specific day. If I know I want um, more love, if I'm sending love, I want to receive it, and I'm just sending out love right now because I'm in a space where the people around me need it. Friday is your best day to do that. I'm not saying it's not going to work if you do it on um, what's an opposing day? uh, Shoot, what's a good day? I'm trying to think of an oppositional day. What Tuesday. Or no, Wednesday's a good day. Like, come on, like, why, why choose? I mean, in a pinch you could do it, but Friday would be your ultimate day, especially if you're trying to reach people, like more people around you. I'm just saying, like, why would I not want that additional boost? um Another why spells fail is forgetting the mundane follow up. So, like prosperity spell plus actual budgeting and maybe job hunting. Um, w- I'm somebody, I like to use planners a lot. I like paper planning, including my budgets. I love a good Excel spreadsheet too, because I get a little crazy on that as well. But that's usually when I'm like brainstorming a situation. But anyway, I like to write things down and I like to speak words, magic, a charm, if you will, over my books, over my budget plans, over all that sort of stuff. I layer it with that in mind. Excuse me. And the final possible spell fail reasons could be rushing the process. I'm speaking from experience on that one. Rushing a process, just I want it to come together real fast. Patience has not been my virtue. So, but seriously, wanting things to go, I want it to happen. Please, please, come on, make it happen. I want it to happen now. Um, and in the process, kind of just throwing it together. And for the longest time, there was a meme, and I haven't seen it in a while, but it goes around where it's like other witches, they wait for the full moon and they lay everything out. and they'll show like a aesthetic witch, and then it was like, meanwhile there's me, and it's like a witch, and she's like wiping Cheetos off on my clothes, saying, "All right, sons of bees, let's get this party going," talking to the spirits. That's cute. That's funny. And sometimes it can be like that. Ideally, get your ducks in a row, process your intention, what you're really trying to do, put actual energy into it. You'd be surprised. I said that before when I was talking about like late I forget, what did I call that video? Lazy magic or something like that. I believe in stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And being a witch is being wise. There's, knowledge is kind of built into the title. So if you take the time, you stock up, you have things in order. You don't have to have everything, but you have the things you know. You know how to make. Listen, some of us, olive oil, we can make wonders. We could do wonders. I didn't even add nothing to it. Just give me some olive oil. I can make something pop. I can make a lot of things happen with that. Avocado oil, that's one of my other personal favorites. I can make things happen with those oils. Okay. So it's not about spending a lot of money doing a lot of things. I'm just saying, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. You don't have to rush the process. And you might have, when you put your energy into it, you're really getting what you're putting into it. I've had spell fails. I had shared one, excuse me, about like one of my kids with school. We got hit with a bill out of nowhere on top of the money. So I was already in the process of paying $5,000 over the semester, not a year, the few months, the months that she was in school. So I'm paying that. And then in August, like I had just agreed to that, like, oh, okay, it's going to cost that much. That's how much it was last semester. Boom, boom, boom. I'll get on a payment plan. We'll pay that, and then you'll register, no problem. And then they said, "Oh, actually, we owe 10,000 on top of that." So it was like 15,000 and change. I was like, "Wait, you want me to come with $15,000 before the next semester? And you're starting in the fall." I wasn't prepared to spend $15,000 now. So you can't. By the way, if you don't pay, you can't register. So she had to go out. So I was working from a place of panic. And I know looking back why it failed, because I was like holding my breath doing the work. I wasn't putting energy into it from a space of, I know it's going to work. It was like, this has to work. I'm so desperate. Like that was my energy for obvious reasons. Listen, witchcraft is a lot to do with mental stuff. It's a lot of mental alchemy going on, to make this all come together. You really, it's in the title, witch, wise, knowledgeable. You learn to do these things. Um, have any of y'all ever had a spell that really flopped though? And why do you think it didn't work? I know it was the energy I put into it. Eventually it did. I got, side note, I did figure that out, by the way. It was manic panic energy that I was putting into it. But do you have a spell that flopped so bad? You know it flopped. You don't have to say what it is, but like, but why do you think? I can tell you right now, it was the type of energy I was bringing. But you let me know yours. Okay. So I want to talk about the layered approach. So bring in your spells on spells on spells part of it. So doubt. There you go. Doubt is the one that's going to get a lot of us. The doubt. Um, one spell. Think of it like this: one spell is the thread, right? Layered spells is equal to like weaving a stronger fabric. So prosperity spell, candle. I talked about this before. I'm just giving rough example, high level, like a sigil, daily money affirmations, and then your mundane actions. You see how we're building? So what makes the spell work isn't always one dramatic ritual per se. It's the layers over time. That's been my experience. Building in. So I used to talk a lot about aligning with the work, not because it was just a catchy thing to say. That's actually one of the big secrets. Hence my concept of spells on spells on spells. Because I mean, initially my approach was this big intention, but there were a lot of moving parts. So I created all these spells and ritualized some things because, you know, it was all for the bigger intention. But one candle wasn't going to do all that. Moving here, I got a premonition through a dream. Excuse me. I need to drink more water. I should have front loaded my water. I mean, I should drink most of the water I'm supposed to drink by this point of the day. I did not do that. I'm being a bad witch. Anyway, um, yeah, it was a thing of, because my question is, what's your favorite way to layer your spells? Like, do you stack your tools, your actions, or your intentions? I've tried stacking intentions as well. And I'm giving an example. Moving here, it came to me in a dream that I would move. So opportunity came and I saw the place like from the outside, but I didn't see that. Well, technically I did see the place per se. But anyway, moving on. So that's another conversation. But I saw, when I look out my window now, like the fence, the backyard, the fence is like the cement fence. That's custom here on the West Coast. I see the cinder block type thing they have. Anyway, and this paint is sand, like a sand color, because we're in Arizona, everything is brown. Anyway, but I saw that, and I remember looking out, and I remember seeing these tall palm trees and then mountains. Now, I knew I've been in California. Well, up until this point, I've only, well, no, actually, I've been, I was like, I've only been in Northern California. No, pause, June, I went to Southern California for the first time. But yeah, I had never been to Southern California. I only experienced Northern California, wine country. But anyway, yeah, that was in my dream. So then when the action came, which was going to be a job for my then husband, and I saw the job listing and I applied for him. He was right there. We're in a room. We used to share a computer, what we called the computer room. We're back then, back in those days before, everything was so different. But anyway, we would all be in a room together, and I was helping him look for a job. So boom, I applied, and I didn't have to say anything. I just looked. I was like, I like living in Florida. I had this calling to the ocean, to the water. I was definitely work into bodies of water. Definitely, I felt like it was definitely a goddess of the sea. I'll just say that, working with me for that period of time, very much so. And I needed to be around water. However, I felt like the earthiness, the groundedness of this place was calling to me, and I answered. So when I saw it and I just stared, I've been to Arizona multiple times. I did some work out here for two different companies. So I stayed for stretches of weeks at a time on a contract. So I was familiar with living or not, or being short term out here in the Phoenix area, right? So it wasn't brand new. I'd been here before. So I knew when I saw it, like I knew where it was. So when I saw that job, something lit up. I felt, do y'all ever get witchy tingles? What you call your spidey senses? And it's almost like a physical manifestation of like tingles. And that's when you know there's some magic afoot. That's exactly what happened. There was magic afoot. So I realized that, in fact, that was an opportunity. And I went ahead and I told him and I applied, and he started the interview process, and there were obstacles. But once I realized this is what it was and I felt right about it, I started doing certain works because, well, now we got to have a place to live. I had some other moving pieces going on. I had a daughter who had just graduated from college. I have a son who is coming out of college and going into the military. And these all were happening at the same time at the move gate. Everything was happening at once. So I'm doing all types of spells. We needed to find a place to live. Then there was some other stuff, like spells on spells on spells was happening. And I had multiple intentions and I was stacking them because the overall intention was to build this life here. And I did. And it took an interesting turn. And that was via scripting. And when I go back and look at what I scripted, I am living what I scripted. That was another component, another layer. And I'm living it. I'm living it. So this stuff really does work because I'm actually living it. Um, I actually started getting more on YouTube at that point when I moved here. I started really participating more and posting videos. So way back when I was here and I was recording it. So actually it is actually recorded. I'm not just saying it. Um, so I want to talk about mindset and spirit, belief versus expectation, right? So beliefs fuels, your belief fuels, but expectation can strangle. And that's something important to kind of keep in mind. And, I'm not using faith, the word faith. I mean belief. Believe in yourself. Believe in that you actually have this ability. You know how I kind of stay aligned and grounded to this thought? Is something I remember hearing years ago, back in the law of attraction early days. And I remember hearing the term, or hearing somebody, I don't know who said it, but it was like everything around you was a thought. Everything that we know, every invention, every tangible item that was made started as a thought. And once you remember that, believe in your magic, believe you really can do it. Because everything that we know was a thought, a idea, a belief. It was in your head. It wasn't existing yet. And now here we are. That's why artistry is magic. Artistry, whether you're a painter, you draw, or you create something, you mold things into being. It started here and then now it's here. And that's freaking magic to me. That's still amazing. Um, yeah, that's magic. So, and what we do is magic. This is all magic. So, another thing is I want to talk about working with spirits, ancestors for extra support. If you are struggling with the concept of belief and, doing all these addition, like I'm talking about stacking spells and all this sort of stuff, get some help. Reach out to your spirit team, reach out to spirit. And definitely, if you're comfortable, start working with your ancestors more for that additional support. If anything, to ask for protection while you're putting all this together. And then there's living magically, right? So spells woven into daily habits are harder to break. It's harder to be disconnected and not be aligned when it's kind of part of your daily routine. And that could be everything from the jewelry that we wear. For some of us, it's tattoos that we get on our body. Um, it's the little sayings, it's the charms that we speak. It's maybe how you have your space decorated. Maybe it's how you dress. I know, we kind of mock people who dress aesthetically, but if you're a witch aesthetic, but guess what? It may be an aesthetic and on the surface is given trendy, it's given all this other things, but to you, it makes you feel like a witch, which makes you feel like you really are doing this. It makes you feel like you are what you say you are. And if that's what it is, then okay, fine. That's your daily ritual of dressing a certain way. If are in whatever you consider your witchy aesthetic, go off, let that be your thing, especially if it's centering you in your craft and your practice and spiritually. So what if it looks aesthetic? So what? Go into it. Um, I do have a question. Do y'all think that spirits and ancestors are necessary for spell success? Or is it purely like a self driven energy? I'll answer. Both could be true. Maybe it might be necessary. Other times, I feel like it's coming from me. It depends on what it is. Like, well, I am my ancestor. So, I mean, they're one and the same. Eh. But some things I'm working, I feel like I am pulling from the center of my being, and I'm pulling that energy out. Talk about energy raising. I'm pulling that energy out and I'm pouring it into the work that I'm doing. Yeah, that's You said they play a part. Yeah. It could be both, right? They play a part. It could be both. So, sort of summarize what I was saying about all this. So, what makes a spell actually work? I'm going to say it's the intention, energy, to some degree, correspondences, action, belief, and sometimes layers. My spells on spells on spells. Um, but the truth is, the best answer is kind of, thank you to Empress Scott for sharing. If anybody else shares on the back end, if you want to put in the comments, that's cool. But a lot, I think, what we all say. If you need a place to sort of track all your spells and see what actually work for you, might I suggest the books of shadows that I offer? You can purchase those at Leap Taken. I have the Book of Shadows for the Love Witch, the Book of Shadows for the Hearth Witch, and the Hoodoo Grimoire. You can also purchase these through Amazon and also on the TikTok shop. They're great for documenting and reflecting on your magic. The Witchy Activity book specifically could be your magical practice. If you are feeling out of sorts and you want to do something every day, you could work on something in the work. It's literally an activity book or a witchy workbook, if you will. It looks fun and approachable, but there's some real magic going on. I'm going to show you guys. There's real magic happening in these books. Um, Definitely this one. Love her. But there's real magic, there's real tools, real information, um, real spells, real rituals, real journal prompts, real correspondences, real information that can guide you and help you and stay in your magic. And these were the Book of Shadows and Grimoires that I was referring to, the Hoodoo one, the Hearth Witch, and then we have the Book of Shadows for the Love Witch. Um, all available again, leaptaken.com and Amazon. If you are looking to note and write down everything, these are great places. I actually have spell records templates in here if you were really wanting to get into that. I do offer that in this book as well, in the Witchy Activity book. Of course, I can't find a page. Why would I find a page? I'm trying to make a whole point about this. So, I'm just going to keep flipping through all these beautiful pages until I find it. And there's shadow work opportunity in here as well. That's not front, that's toward the back because, you need a minute. But anyway, I offer these cute, like, spell record pages to kind of, you can work in here with it at first. So, when I say that, I really mean it. Like, I'm all about recording it. And if you actually like to see me walk through spells, sort of like a step by step, thank you. I will be doing this week for my YouTube members, which, by the way, it's only $5.99. By the way, if you were wondering, you click on it. It's very, very nicely priced, not too much. um, but I will be doing by the weekend an ancestor offering ritual for them, so they'll get to see me do that. So yeah, a little precursor to Samhain activities, by the way. But yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to me, and use this information, y'all, because you do not hear me talk. Listen, I talk magic. I talk very much from a practical sense. I truly believe we are not dealing with the norm of what we think is the norm. We are dealing with, some say extraterrestrial, some say demons, some say a different type of humanoid, some say you know the offspring of the ancestors who made the special deal with some sort of deity or entity or whatever, and they've been reaping the benefits since then, and they're really having a hard time realizing that it's ending. And I'll end it with this: Rome fell, y'all. They're really obsessed with the Roman Empire. Rome fell. So like, subscribe, share, I appreciate you all, and I will be back soon. I won't be here Friday because I realize I actually have a very important appointment that it's very important. I'm going to keep that, and it's going to take up pretty much all of Friday. I didn't realize until I looked at my calendar, and I had planned on being on here, so I will be back Sunday with my Sunday video deep dive. I love working on that series and getting a little more deeper into some topics. But that'll be up, but I will not be here on Friday. So I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their week and do your magic, stay in your magic. That's all I got. All right, bye.